All right, boys and girls, welcome back to the drive-thru. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. As always, the drive-thru is sponsored by the deli. Hungry? Stop by the deli. Get yourself a delicious sandwich made on Hawaiian buns. All right, this is like one of my favorite lessons to teach, so I hope you are ready for some serious enjoyment and challenge to boot. All right, this is about four-sided polygons. Please bear with me as I get through the beginning of this, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the lesson. What is a polygon? Most of you guys have a good idea, but could you define polygon? Okay, well, a polygon is a closed plane figure. Notice plane, not plane, but plane. This indicates that a polygon is two-dimensional. It's closed, that's going to be important, and it's made up of segments that only intersect at vertices. Okay. We'll come back to that. And then in this chapter, we're going to be doing a lot of defining. So we just defined the word polygon. And creating a good definition is actually harder than you would think, so we're teaching you to be lawyers here. All right, so we're going to get a little Englishy right here. To create a good definition, you need to choose the best possible predicate nominative. Okay, in this definition, a closed plane figure is the predicate nominative. A polygon is a blank. That blank is your predicate nominative. Okay, the better predicate nominative you choose, the easier it is to define your term. So, let's define a television. Well, if I said a television was an item, I have chosen item as my predicate nominative. That's not a very good predicate nominative because an item is not a very descriptive term. Okay? So, what could be a better predicate nominative to choose? How about an appliance? Okay, a television is an appliance. In this case, appliance is our predicate nominative. Okay? Oh, well, appliance tells my audience a lot. It tells the audience that it is runs on electric and that it is used inside of a house, typically to improve daily family or personal operations. Okay, so now we just have to explain what makes a television a specific type of appliance. How is a television different than a toaster? Well, a television is an appliance that syncs audio and video to give a user entertainment through programming. How about that? I just made that up, okay? You're going to have to make some stuff up with definitions. But I think, let's see if I can read that backwards, okay? Is an appliance that syncs audio and video to give a user entertainment through programming a television? Okay, so it seems like it works both ways, and so that would be a definition. And then I kind of worry, like, could this definition also be used for a computer? Well, I don't think a computer has programming. It has programs, but programming, I think, indicates that it's a television. Just get used to this kind of thinking, okay? Here we go. All right, now we're back to polygons. Let's make sure we know what polygons are, okay? So, a polygon, that's a polygon, okay? It's a closed plane figure made of segments that only intersect at vertices. I need to sync this thing. Bam. Polygon. Those are all polygons. Okay? Not a polygon. Well, hold on. That's made of segments, and they only intersect at its vertices, but this is not closed. That is not closed. Not a polygon. It is made of polygons. There are 6 polygons there, but that itself is not a polygon because it's closed. It's made of vertices. They only it's made of segments. They only intercept at the vertices, but that is not a polygon because it's not a plane figure. Okay, what about this one? Not a polygon because it's not made of strictly segments. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea of what a polygon is. All right, 2 more things to cover. Concave versus convex. Okay, your convex polygons are the ones you're used to. So that quadrilateral is a polygon. That's a pentagon. It's a polygon. That's a trapezoid. It's a polygon. Okay? A concave polygon is caved in. Okay? That's not a definition, but that's a description. That's a concave polygon. So what makes something concave? Well, it actually has something to do with its diagonals. So the diagonals of a polygon connect 2 vertices that are not adjacent to each other. There's that word again, adjacent. Well, this vertice is adjacent to this vertice. If I connected those, that would not be a vertice. I'm sorry, that would not be a diagonal. That would be a side. But I can connect these. Those are diagonals. Those are diagonals, okay? Diagonals, diagonals. We're going to learn a formula for how many diagonals a shape has. But notice, this vertice is not adjacent to this one. So that diagonal is on the outside of the figure, and that's what makes something concave. If it has a diagonal that's on the outside, then it is a concave polygon. Okay? So hopefully that helps explain some things about diagonals. And now we are to the good part of the lesson. So I want you to know a few things. Okay? Things get weird in Kentucky, so I want you to know that. And Mr. Ulan lies sometimes because he's human. So those 2 things must be understood before we start this lesson. Okay? All right. You guys have been good students your whole life. You study many different things throughout the day. And one thing we never get to talk about, or we don't get to talk about enough, is math history. So, did you know that the first ever square was birthed in Kentucky? I bet you didn't know that. Okay? And so one thing that gets overlooked, we're learning all sorts of numbers and terminology and proofs, but we don't pay a lot of attention to math history. Before the dinosaurs ruled the earth, so way before humans came into existence, the earth was ruled by polygons. In fact, it was a monarchy, and King Polygon ruled the world. Okay? Now, King Polygon had literally infinitely many offspring. So, he had his first kid was a triangle. Then he had his son, that was the king. And that was King Quad, as he called him, which was King Quadrilateral. Okay? He also had pentagon, hexagon, and he just kept having kids, okay, until the kingdom was his. Well, King Quad had a little bit different idea, okay? King Quad, he only had one, and it was a son, and he called him the general. Okay, and the general was just kind of ugly, okay? He looked almost identical to the king, okay? And the general Quad looked something. No, that's not what he looked like. Sorry, I'm not very good at art. Something like that, okay? Very nondescript. These are not parallel sides. These are not parallel sides. It was just a random general quad, okay? And the thing that made general quad different than the other members of the Polygon kingdom, triangle, pentagon, hexagon, was general quad only had 4 sides. So let's start making some definitions here. A quadrilateral is a what? What's the best predicate nominative we can choose for quadrilateral? It's a polygon, okay? It's a polygon with 4 sides. That's what makes it a quadrilateral. Okay, it's got no other traits. It's relatively ugly otherwise. Okay? Well, General Quad decided to move his family very close. He moved them to the Kentucky region of the world. And yes, Kentucky existed back then. Just so you know, it did. So, General Quad first had a son. Okay? And that son he named Trapezoid. Okay? And the trapezoid looks something like this. Okay? So, trapezoid was a better looking quad than General Quad was. Okay? And General Quad was very happy with his son named Trapezoid. So he gave his son a definition, of course. So, what would the definition for trapezoid be? Well, a trapezoid is a what? Well, it is a polygon, but let's choose a better predicate nominative. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral. And it's a quadrilateral with exactly 1 pair of parallel sides. And as you can see, this picture here meets that definition just fine. Okay? Well, you know, like many offspring, General Quad didn't want to be exactly like his dad, King Quad. Okay? He was happy in Kentucky, but he wanted more out of life. So, he decided that he wanted to have another kid. But this child was birthed while the General Quad was far, far away on a mission, you know, because quads had a lot of missions. And so somewhere around the North Dakota-South Dakota border, he gave birth to his second son. And he named him after his Native American friend that he made, and he called him Keite. All right, now, Keite, later on in life, the white man would come in and totally mangle his name and call him Kite. Hey, it's a kite. Okay, but really it was Keite. And Keite was very different looking than Trapezoid. He looked kind of like a diamond that had been stretched out. Okay? So, if we can try to give that a definition. So, a kite is a what? It's a quadrilateral. Okay? It is a quadrilateral with 2 pair, or with exactly, let's call it, exactly 2 pair, so not exactly 2 pair of consecutive congruent sides. Okay? Now you might see a gap here. We're going to come back to that. Okay, so after Ki'ite was born, Ki'ite and Trapezoid got together at a family reunion, and Trapezoid was like, hey, there's someone that I want you to meet. And it was actually Trapezoid's daughter. Now, Trapezoid's daughter looked very similar to Trapezoid, but what happened was, the rumor is that Trapezoid got with an isosceles triangle, and some weird things happened, and they gave birth to a daughter. So, in order to honor, I guess, his baby's mama, Trapezoid named his daughter Isosceles Trapezoid. Okay? So, what was true about an isosceles trapezoid? Well, it was a trapezoid, but now its legs were congruent to each other. So, if we add that to our definition, an isosceles trapezoid is a trapezoid whose legs are congruent. Okay, sweet. So, everything was really going well in the Polygon world, especially in the quadrilateral community. And then General Quad announced to the world that he was so excited because he was about to give birth to his first daughter. Not a granddaughter, like Isosceles Trapezoid, but a daughter. And when he saw this shape, when this shape was born, he was absolutely blown away with her beauty. And he couldn't think of a more beautiful shape. So he thought to himself, what is the most beautiful word that I could ever imagine? And what came out of his mouth was parallelogram. So that is what he named his only daughter. Parallelogram. Okay? You might want to practice saying that. Parallelogram. Okay? So, parallelogram was basically like what General Quad thought was the perfect quadrilateral. Okay? It was a quadrilateral with 2 sets of opposite parallel sides. And boy, was King Quad proud. In fact, he was so proud that he kind of, rubbed, some of his friends the wrong way. A lot of his friends in Kentucky moved out. He was so sick. They were so sick of hearing about parallelogram this and parallelogram that. Okay? So, General Quad decided, I'm going to take parallelogram around the world. But parallelogram was like, Dad, there's something I need to tell you. I am pregnant. And General Quad was so happy. He was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be a grandfather, but not of Isosceles Trapezoid. My daughter, Parallelogram, is going to have kids. A kid or kids? And Parallelogram was like, I'm pregnant with twins. Holy cow. Twins. So, Parallelogram also gave birth, and these twins were a son and a daughter. Okay? The son looked like this, and the daughter looked like that. Well, you could tell they were twins because they had a lot in common, but they really didn't look that similar at all. He named his son Rex, like the new king, but he called him, she named her son Rect angle. Kind of like Rex, you know, like king. And then she named her daughter Rhombus. And wow, were they beautiful polygons. I mean, perfect. Their symmetry was admirable. They had some fine angles going on, and general quad and parallelogram, excuse me, could not have been more proud. So before we move on to the end of the story, let's keep our definitions going. So, what is a rectangle? Well, now we want to choose the best predicate nominative that we can. So a rectangle, it is a shape, it is a polygon, it is a quadrilateral, but what's the best predicate nominative that we can pick for rectangle? It's a parallelogram. And it's a parallelogram with equal angles. That's it. That's all we have to do to define a rectangle. It has all the traits of a parallelogram, but it also has 4 equal angles. Okay? And so then it's easy to say that a rhombus is a parallelogram. And did I mention that I can't spell and that I lie a lot? So I don't know if this is spelled right. It's a parallelogram. No, I got these completely backwards. A parallelogram with equal sides. Okay, so we're doing great. Hopefully you guys are keeping up. We're just about done with this. And the story from here gets a little bit weird. Okay, so if you're not over the age of 14, I do ask that you stop the YouTube channel at this time. Okay, so King Quad wanted to take parallelogram and rectangle and rhombus off to see the world. They wanted to show them off to the entire world. But rectangle and rhombus were like 16, and they were too cool for that. They were like, come on, Mom, I don't want to go on another stupid vacation. So parallelogram convinced King Quad, General Quad, that they could stay at home in Kentucky while the rest of them went to spread the word to the rest of the world about the beauty of the parallelogram family. Okay? Well, this is where things just got a little bit sideways and weird, because as teenagers, they were curious, and one thing led to another. I don't want to go into the specifics. Things were different back then, okay? They're not the same way that things are now. But yes, if you're paying attention, yes, indeed, one thing led to another, and rectangle and rhombus had a son. Okay? That's right. That's right. They had a son. And that son had all the traits from both mom and dad. And so that is where this new term, you're such a square, that's what that means, okay? You're such a square. It really means you are the offspring of brother and sister, okay? And things get weird in Kentucky. So for instance, who is Square's dad? Rectangle, okay? But who is Square's uncle? Rectangle, that's right, Uncle Dad. Things get weird sometimes, okay? And so, what this means is that there are 2 different ways to define a square. That's why it's such a weird being. So a square actually has 2 different excellent definitions. You can say that a square is a rectangle that has equal sides, or you can say a square is a rhombus that has equal angles, and they are both equally great and sufficient definitions for a square. So I hope you guys understand this. You're going to use this chart a lot, okay, a lot. You're going to use this chart for always, sometimes, never questions. So if something goes down the chart, it's always. A polygon, I'm sorry, it's sometimes. A polygon is a quadrilateral. That goes down. Is that always true, sometimes true, or never true? It's sometimes true. But a quadrilateral is a polygon. That's always true. If these things are not connected vertically, they're never true. So, a triangle is a pentagon. Never true. Okay? A trapezoid is a square. Never true. But how about a square is a rhombus? Always true. How about a parallelogram is a square? Sometimes true, because it goes down. So this little polygon family tree, you guys are going to need to be able to create for yourself. And this family tree will be your key to remember where these polygons are nested. Can I get a rated PG-13? Boom!